I ended up working for Jones Store, off and on, once, twice a week, sometimes, 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes not, months on end, but that's just the modeling industry. But that's how modeling in my life started.
Okay, welcome to the Look Like Somebody podcast. I'm your host, Ricky C. Simmons. I want everybody to really pay attention today. I mean, we're going to talk about some topics that kind of proves my point of what this podcast is all about. We like to uplift people, but we want everybody to understand that everybody deals with adversity. No one's exempt. No one gets out of this thing without it. Life is going to always throw a bunch of curves. So I asked like a little brother, you know what I mean? I asked Bob Haney to come be on the show because his story is so interesting, and it runs real parallel with mine as well, so we have so much in common. And I just thought it would be great for people to actually just tune in and just listen, because sometimes you can hear things and learn from other mistakes that me, Bob, and a lot of other people make versus making them yourself. And then for those of you that have made some mistakes, you're looking at a couple of good examples of what can come from mistakes. So with that being said, I want to welcome Bob Haney. How you doing,
Ricky,
brother?
Thanks so much for having me. I love hanging out with you.
Well, you know what? I love having you here. And, the thing is, too, Bob, I have a lot of people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you as well, they only see the success side.
Right.
Success is, now don't get me wrong, success is important. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize all the behind-the-scenes things that goes on to achieve that success.
For sure.
And I can't think of a better example than you. So that's why I'm asking. Let's start off with, who's Bob Haney, man?
Oh my gosh, the many different parts of Bob Haney. In my life, I guess, growing up when I was a little kid, it was very tumultuous. I had 10 marriages and 9 divorces between 3 parents, my mom, my biological dad, and my first stepdad. It was really dysfunctional and sad and scary. And in the public's eye, it looked like we had, part of it was this, perfect life, and then it was not. And then, so having that kind of upbringing, my grandmother, my mom's mom, was my rock and my foundation, and I always leaned on her. When my first stepdad got custody of all of my brothers and sisters, or my sister and my 2 younger brothers, I talked to my grandmother every single day from the time I was 7 until I was 13 years old when I moved to live with my mom and stepdad in South Dakota.
Wow.
And so she was just my rock. They would take me my grandpa would take me to Nebraska games. He had I guess one of his customers had season tickets to Nebraska games.
Okay.
And he would only take one home game, and my grandpa got the rest. And so every home game from the time I was 5 until I was 13, we'd get on the bus. There was a bus that would take us down to the Nebraska games, and it was these. I mean, they were probably our age,
yeah.
But it seemed, when you're 5, 6 years old, they look like, they were 100. And so it was back in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And just the get-ups that they would wear, it was awesome. And so, but that was where my passion for cooking came. My grandmother was a very good cook. My grandpa made the best soups and sandwiches. And so that was my safe space and my happy time.
That's how you kind of laid your foundation.
Right.
Well, you didn't always have an easy road.
I did not. So in high school, I started drinking and doing drugs. It looked like, I was a good student. I was on the honor roll half the time. Other half the time I played around. I was in student council. I was an athlete. I had 3 jobs during high school. I got a lot of things done, but I was also behind the scenes. I was probably smoking pot 3 or 4 times a day and all throughout high school.
So you looked productive.
I looked productive, but I wasn't. So then I ended up, the day after I graduated from high school, I moved back down to Omaha and played baseball on a Summer Legion team with the West Side Summer Legion team. That was amazing. It was the most fun. Back in 1982, baseball in Omaha was unbelievable. And so I ended up that next, after that summer, walking on at Nebraska, made some bad decisions, actually never played a single game at Nebraska, but walked on, made the team, and then quit. And then after my freshman year in college, went through rehab for the first time.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 19 years old going through rehab, and then played baseball at Iowa Western, dropped out of college, quit playing baseball, and followed my now wife to Arizona.
Gotcha.
So the addiction part of my life, it was the first time I got high. I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. And drunk, I was 12 or 13.
See, I guess where I'm going with this is I really appreciate the fact that you own it.
It's part of who I am and part of what I've become. And if I had done anything different, who knows where I would be. And I'm happy where I am.
And that's where I can't get a lot of people to really understand. Trials and tribulations is part of this thing called life.
Right.
And I just don't believe that everybody that you see, the finished product, so to say, you don't never see the behind the scenes. And that's what I would like to, I'm going to continue pushing that narrative on this podcast because to me, I think it's important because there's a lot of people suffering in silence and they don't want to share with nobody because they don't want to be looked down on.
Sure.
And then unfortunately we live in a society that likes to label things, especially things that they don't understand.
Well, they kind of like keeping you down.
Right.
It's if you start to rise up and start being successful, then some people think that makes them look bad.
Yeah, well, I've always said people want to see you do well. They just don't want to see you do better than them. That's the way.
Very true.
Well, that's the way it looks.
Very true.
I mean, whether it's true or not, it just looks that way to me because it seems like to me, I would love to see everybody be successful. I just think it would make the world a better place.
Right.
But unfortunately, I don't know how they did it, but they've done a great job of manipulating the masses and being positive and hopefully lifting others up. It doesn't rank very high.
Sure. Well, and you and I talk about high tides raising all ships.
Right. Correct.
So when we started doing what we're doing, and it's a convoluted all, peaks and valleys process to where we've gotten today. But when we sell our Heavenly Waffles to restaurants, I want to help people with serving a better tasting, more healthy, more versatile product to their customers.
Right.
And help them make money, give them a new revenue stream.
Correct.
That's what I want to do. Especially the one-off restaurants that, we don't make that much money. We make almost nothing really from those restaurants, very little. If we get big chains, we'll make money. But, the success is in the volume with our business.
Well, let me say this before we get to your business, because I want to hear all about that as well. But I want to talk about how through all the trials and tribulations that you had to endure, then can you share, before we go any further, can you share about some of your trials and tribulations as an adult?
Sure. So I ended up, after my now wife and I broke up in Arizona, I was 21 years old and started doing a lot of cocaine. And, got to the point where I called my mom, and she had moved to Kansas City with my stepdad, second stepdad. And I was like, I need help, because I can't quit doing what I'm doing. And so I moved to Kansas City. So this is 2.5 years later, 21 years old, and I'm going through my second rehab.
Wow, yeah.
And so I was sober maybe, and about 4 or 5 months before, I was drunk in a bar. A lot of my stories started, I was drunk in a bar. And so I was drunk in a bar, and this guy came up to me, with which I didn't even remember when he ended up calling. but he asked me if I wanted to do a calendar. So I modeled for 15 years, and this is how it started. So this guy asked me if I wanted to do a calendar. I had given him my number. 2 weeks later, he called and said, "Okay, we're going to shoot today." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh, you don't remember talking to me?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Shoot what?" Because I didn't do that. I didn't shoot anything. I didn't like that. I hate needles.
Oh, man.
Thank the Lord. But so I ended up doing this calendar in Arizona, moved to Kansas City, and so I got sober. I'd been going to AA meetings. I met a guy who knew the art director at a company called Jones Store in Kansas City. And he said, "I think you should model." And he said, "Have you ever done any modeling?" And I was like, "Well, I did this calendar." And so I ended up taking the calendar and showing Will Pettit was the guy's name. He was the art director at the Jones Store. And so I ended up going down there, and he said, "Okay, we'll use you tomorrow. You'll either sink or swim." And so I ended up working for Jones Store, off and on, once, twice a week, sometimes, 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes not, months on end, but that's just the modeling industry. But that's how modeling in my life started. And so then I started working and with that modeling also came a faster paced life. And I was only sober for maybe 10 months and started drinking and doing drugs again. And so that persisted, until I was 35 years old.
Wow.
And then ended up going through rehab again. I had been to Europe, and I was living in Chicago. I lived in Athens and Madrid and Barcelona, Vienna, Milan, and ended up going to Hazelden with Bobby Brown. Mm-hmm. He and I were roommates at Hazelden, and ended up going to a halfway house in New York.
Wow.
Not necessarily a good place to send a model in a drug addict model. So I ended up sober there for about 6 more months and then started doing it again. And I walked out of a crack house in Harlem one Sunday morning in 1999, ended up moving to San Francisco shortly thereafter, then retired from modeling and moved to Taos, New Mexico, and came to one morning and I was like, I'm going to end up in jail. I'm going to die, neither of which I really didn't care much about myself. My self-esteem was so low. So neither of those things really mattered. But the third thing that crossed my mind was I'm going to get in an accident and I'm going to hurt somebody. And I didn't want to hurt anyone else. And with that, it was like the Lord put his hand on my shoulder. And with that, the compulsion to drink and do drugs just went away.
Well,
23 years ago.
And to me, congratulations first.
Thank you.
That's in order. I appreciate stories like that because I can relate. And I believe that there's an audience out there that can relate as well. A lot of times people don't want to take a look at it. But I'm not just throwing Bob under the bus. I'm under the bus with Bob,
right.
Okay?
If you and I would have gotten together.
Oh, well, we might not be here today.
Right.
Because I'll say it this way. It's very safe to say that, and this is a personal story too, I call myself a genius. And the reason why I call myself a genius is because I went from NFL to prison 4 times. And I went to 10 treatment centers and graduated 9 of them, all behind drugs. I can relate to falling to the bottom. And once you hit that bottom, I think it's very important that people understand one simple thing. That's not the end if you're still alive.
No. Yeah. And it wasn't God's plan.
Right.
For me and for you.
Correct.
And the minute I stopped drinking, now I dabbled in other things for a few years, but when I stopped drinking, that enabled me to fulfill God's plan for me.
Well, I tell you what, God has done miracles and is doing miracles in your life. And we got the proof on the table to prove it.
There we go.
I was sitting here thinking about this too, and I was like, I'm so glad that you brought your product, because what I like about it is you didn't go the traditional way of trying to create this product? I mean, you didn't go get a brick and mortar.
No.
You didn't you know, sit
I
up
didn't
and say,
I
"Come
never
here."
wanted to own a restaurant. I'd worked in restaurants. I knew, you know, what was out there. I knew how it worked. It was 16, 18 hours a day. If you own a restaurant and you're not the owner, first of all, it's not glamorous. It's not a glamorous job. It's the people who own restaurants and do well, kudos to them, because it is hard and you have to have the passion for it. Otherwise, you'll fail. I think that's why so many times when people who have never worked in a restaurant and they think, I'm going to open a restaurant, that's why 60% of them fail.
Yeah.
Because it's open to close.
And, you know, I can see that because I've witnessed it as well. But what I'd like for you to share with people is you came up with a very unique product. I mean, because I don't know about anybody else, but I want y'all to hear this part right here. I'm the guy that when I eat waffles or pancakes, shortly after I eat them, I got to lay down. I don't know what that was about, but that's been my entire life until I ate a Heavenly Waffle.
There you go.
Can you explain that process of why we don't have that issue?
Well, the thing of it is so when it was originally a pancake crepe recipe that I had created using some ingredients of a pancake recipe my mom made and using some ingredients of a pancake recipe my grandma made. One of the ingredients was sour cream, and one day there wasn't any sour cream in the refrigerator, but there was yogurt, and I'm like, oh, that'll work. So over the years, I just kind of tweaked it. And when I lived all over the world, I would always cook for people. And like I said, I started cooking when I was like 4 years old with my grandma in my grandma's kitchen, making Thanksgiving gravy. So I had cooked forever. And so this particular recipe was one that I held near and dear to my heart. Otherwise, every other recipe of anything I've ever made, I've always given to people. This one I held on to. And so when I retired from modeling, I moved back to Omaha when I was 38 years old, like 39, started the company and started selling the batter to restaurants and doing the farmer's market, which is a grind in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Holy buckets. And so I had 2 licensing agreements fall through, one with ConAgro and one with Ventura Foods. The Ventura Foods I had in February of 2007. I went out and met with their food scientist down in Dallas. I had to get his thumbs up before I could fly out to Los Angeles and meet with 8 of their vice presidents. They love the product, and this is before I went to culinary school. And so they love the product. They pitched Wendy's in February of 2007. Wendy's loved the concept. They love the product. Set up a meeting for June of 2007. And I'm running the numbers, and if Wendy's just would have done like 11 orders a day, Ventura Foods would have made $23 million a year, and I would have made $7 million.
Wow.
2 weeks before the meeting, Wendy's announced they were up for sale and canceled the meeting.
Oh.
It was a blessing in disguise because the product was not as good. I had worked with a company to convert the batter to a shelf-stable dry mix back then, and it wasn't as good as it is now. And so I ended up moving to Austin, went to Le Cordon Bleu, graduated from there, moved back to Omaha. I had reconnected with my wife, Kathy. She was, by the way, this is a little tangent. She was my girlfriend when we were 12. Gave her a ring when we were 12. She still has. Dropped out of college, quit playing baseball, followed her to Arizona when I was 20. Then we dated for like a year and a half, and neither of us really remember what happened. We just went different directions. We reconnected 26 years ago. Didn't see each other for 25 years. Reconnected 17 years ago and have been married almost 10 years.
Wow. That's a story within itself.
The love of my life. There she is.
That's a story right
But
there.
anyway, so I digress. So I ended up moving back to Omaha. She had moved back with my now bonus daughters, Kate and Allie. They were 9 and 13. And that was interesting. I was, 44 years old, honey? 44 years old, single my whole life, and I suddenly had a wife and 2 kids.
Gotcha.
So anyway, when I moved back, I started teaching at Metro's Culinary School while I worked on converting the batter to a shelf-stable dry mix.
Okay.
Started selling it in Hy-Vees as under the Pan Crepes trademark. I've shown you those boxes.
Yes, right.
People just didn't understand what a pan crepe was, and so we got out of retail. rebranded to Heavenly Waffles, changed the mixing instructions from adding water to adding club soda and egg and oil, and selling them to food service. So like training tables, University of Tennessee served them to all their athletes every day, University of South Florida, the New York Jets. We've been vetted and cleared to start selling our mix to all the Major League Baseball training facilities. But so now we've launched into retail about a year ago, and holy buckets.
Well, you've also been kind of really busy lately too, because I remember I walked through Hy-Vee, I think it was the other day. I got this thing called a water fetish. If I get down to 4 cases of water, I go into panic mode, so I got to go get at least 4 more cases.
Kathy's the same way. I think she died of dehydration in a past life.
Well, it was so funny because I normally, when I go to the grocery store, I usually get a handheld basket because I'm just picking up a few things.
Sure.
Well, this particular day, I got a regular basket because I was getting cases of water. And as soon as I enter the store, I look up, and all I see is Heavenly Waffles.
Really?
So I was like,
is that the 84th in Lincoln?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, wait a minute, I think I know them people.
Nice. I love it.
You're already in Lincoln.
We are. We picked up 200, it looks like 225 Hy-Vees in their health market. They have all 6 of our SKUs, 5 of our SKUs in one area of the health market, and then the gluten-free by the gluten-free. We just picked up 240 Harris Teeters, which is in, I'm not even exactly sure where they are. The Rust Belt, our CEO calls it. 110 Rayleighs, 30 London Byerleys. Some of these grocery stores I've never even heard of. Market District in the East Coast.
But there's some big change you're really getting into.
Costco.
Now. Yes.
So we picked up the Midwest region of Costco. Those should be set soon. We're doing a Pacific Northwest regional road show, Costco road show, Boise, Seattle, Portland, Billings, Montana, and Salt Lake City. So when we finish that, what we're looking at is probably being set in all of the Pacific Northwest region. And then from there, we were in Seattle recently, and which is where their headquarters is. It's the mothership of Costco.
Okay.
And so one of the store directors said to us the other day, he goes, there have been a lot of the corporate people in here, and we've gotten rave reviews. So if we can branch out into all 8 regions of Costco, that would take our little hometown Omaha local company to
huge heights. Sounds like to me that goal of having Heavenly Waffles as a household name.
That's the goal.
It's starting to take shape.
It is. We brought on about a year ago a CEO and CFO, and both of them had worked at ConAgra, Pinnacle Foods, Boulder Foods, Sunrise Strategic, which are big names in the food industry, the good for you food industry. Mm-hmm. They were our advisors for 2 years, and then we brought them on full time because Kathy's and my wanting to get in retail, really, we didn't want to because it's a lot, and we don't know the retail industry.
Right.
But these guys are experts at it, and so we brought them on full time a year ago, and they get to do what they do. Kathy and I get to do what we do, and just kind of enjoy the ride. And this whole the drugs and alcohol thing, the modeling thing, it all kind of helped me and prepared me for what we're doing now.
Right.
Overcoming obstacles, for one, the drugs and alcohol, being thrown in front of people. When I first got off the plane in Milan, and I'm this hoop bat from Nebraska who walks in and and there's Elton John and Gianni Versace, the first casting I went in.
Wow.
I'm like, man, I'm being punked. but you have to know that you're bringing something to the table, and you can't be starstruck, and you can't be nervous, and so we're the only company in Chick-fil-A history to approach Chick-fil-A that they invited us into their test kitchen. So we're working on pre-made frozen, so that's in the works.
You guys got a lot going on.
What do you say? Something about dancing and getting in a fight with a one-legged?
Yeah, you in a fight. You like a one-legged man in a kick fight. You're extremely busy. You're trying to kick and stand on one leg.
It's so much fun. It's literally so much fun getting to do what we do because we get to surprise people everywhere we go and make them smile.
Well, here's the one thing that really stands out about you and Kathy is every time I have came to one of you guys' locations where you're doing your
one
thing.
of our pop-ups.
Yeah, wherever y'all pop up, the energy is always great. The positive mental attitude. Most people are complaining that they have to go to work. You guys actually, and I know you're stretching yourself thin, but you guys still keep a positive mental attitude. And that's one of the things I think is so very important in life, not just in your business, just in life. Keeping a positive mental attitude is not easy. And personally, I've been accused of making it look easy, but people don't realize how hard I work at it. I mean, every single day, I literally tell myself, it's another day in paradise.
Well, you look at where you and I have both been. And so, I've told you my pendulum theory.
Right.
And so, you and I, if swinging to the left is pain and suffering, we have that much momentum that can swing to the right of happiness and joy. And, being happy in life is most people's goal. And you and I have been able to do it against all odds.
And that's so true. I'm going to tell you why it's true for me. It's because I have so many people in the course of a day that always ask me a simple question. How can every day be another day in paradise? Well, see, I think what they're not understanding is that pendulum you're talking about.
Right.
When you've seen what I've seen and had to endure what I put myself through compared to what I'm dealing with today, it is another day in paradise.
No doubt.
Yeah, and I appreciate stuff that most people take for granted.
Right.
And I see a lot of that in you too, because you got a great product. True, that we're not even debating that.
Sure.
But you could have a great product and then have a bad attitude and
Sure.
it hurts the product.
Right.
So the fact that every time I know you've been up and you've been working long hours, you're still laughing and smiling, telling people about your product, explaining it, and being very genuine to each and every person.
Well, Kathy and I have also always said that if we have to do this one mouth at a time, that's what it takes, then that's what we'll do. And the goal is to make Heavenly Waffles a household name. We were offered a bunch of money about 3 years ago, and I said, I didn't even talk to Kathy about it. And it was 8 figures. And I was like, no. I said, that's not what it's about. It's not about the money. It's about making Heavenly Waffles a household name. When that happens, the money is going to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
And so doing what we do, it invigorates us. It fills us up. Like I said, we get to make people smile and surprise them every day. And the peaks and valleys of life, it's most times, and I think most successful people would agree, we learn more in the valleys than we do on the peak.
Right.
Just because you have to, you're challenged to, you get knocked down. You have to pick up your bootstraps. Man, when we were, the whole COVID situation, we were predominantly doing events, so catering events, that stopped, and selling to restaurants, that stopped. So we had to pivot and figure out how to make money. So we started selling our mix online.
Yes.
Otherwise, the company would have failed.
And see, and that's another thing too. That's part of that adversity I'm talking about. Life is never going to be the way we want it.
No.
I mean, I'm going to just make a confession here. I have a PhD in making mistakes, okay? So I get it.
Right.
I get it better than most. But my thing is, I want people to understand, just because you make a mistake or because things that you had no control over happens, that doesn't mean you can't find another way to get the mission accomplished.
Sure.
And basically when COVID hit, I mean, that could have killed you. It could have killed the business. It could have killed everything.
100%.
But what did you do? Because of the adversity you had dealt with earlier in life, you was like, you know what? This ain't working, so I'm going to have to bag up.
Right.
Go back to
do something else. Go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I got to go back to the huddle.
Yeah.
I always use football analogies. I got to go back. Let's huddle up.
Right.
Let's call another play.
Figure this out.
Yeah, let's call another play. And I think that's important because once you put your mind to it and you decide that you're going to make it work, I just believe as long as you have that positive mindset, I just believe that something will come to help you get to where you need to be.
Sure.
And I choose to call it God is my answer.
100%.
Yeah,
ours too.
Yeah, I don't pretend to be religious or anything like that. I'm not a pastor, none of that. But I do have a personal relationship with God. And every time I have gotten into really tough situations, God was the one constant in my life.
Right.
And I have relied on that up until this very day. You know, I'll share a funny story. I was actually on my way to Omaha. I'm just about ready to get on the interstate, and the little gauge comes on saying one of my tires is low. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm going to go back and get me some air at this, this place where I get my car repaired. And it was funny because people laugh at me because I'm always way early. Well, there was an advantage of being way early. I wasn't late.
Better to have the time and not need it than need the time and not have it. Right.
I can kill time way better than I can make up time.
Right.
So
Sure.
I was able to go get the air and still keep the positive mental attitude versus, oh, man.
Sure. Get negative. Right.
Whatever can go wrong always does.
Right.
That's so easy to do.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
And I just want to challenge people not to do that because, first of all, even when you get through complaining, the issue is still there.
Right. Just overcoming things it's gratifying, to be perfectly honest. I look back at the things that we've had to overcome, and it just makes you so much more grateful for what you are able to accomplish at
totally agree.
that time and in the future. And it's
I think it's important that people be, and this is another one. My business partner Kim Kelly is always telling me I got these Rickyisms.
Yeah.
Okay. I use them because they make sense to me. But, that's just one more reason, man, to just keep being positive. I mean, I know being positive is not going to pay all your bills. It's not going to solve all your problems. I get all that.
Sure.
But I can't find the benefit of being negative. I just don't see the benefit in it.
It doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do any good.
I mean, I done tried it now. Like I told you, I got a PhD in messing
100%.
up. So.
And don't get me wrong. There are times when I'll lose my cool and I yell at people and say, things that I probably regret saying. And I'm somewhat of a perfectionist. And so I want things done right.
Right.
I want things done on time. And I kind of want things done the way that I want them done.
Oh yeah.
But that's that's where we've gotten in life, and we should be able to be that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know what helps me personally with that is being early. Because
do you hear that, honey?
For some reason, when I get in a rush, I don't always make the best decisions.
Sure.
And then that's when the wheels kind of fall off.
It's all about timing.
Yeah. So, I would rather, I remember the first meeting I had up here, I was sitting in the parking lot for 30 minutes before the meeting. I was just sitting in the parking lot. But that's not because I feel like I need to be that early. I just don't like the mindset that I personally get in when I'm rushing.
I'm right there with you.
I don't like that.
Right.
I mean,
because then there's a little bit of franticness.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Well, I'll put it this way. When I was rushing in the past, it wasn't good.
Sure.
Sure.
Rushing to get what you shouldn't be getting.
You're right. Yeah. and I kept having these allergic reactions. I was breaking out, breaking into jails, breaking into prisons, breaking into rehabs.
Yeah.
All behind rushing.
Right.
I mean, It doesn't make a lot of sense. But I will say this. I would like to say this before we go on. I love what you guys are doing. You inspire me to continue doing what I do. And for those of you that don't know what I do, I travel around the country speaking to help people of all different, it doesn't matter who you are, church, high school, college,
business.
Yeah, business, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
I speak, and I speak about recovery is possible is one of them, but more than anything, PMA, short for positive mental attitude. I'm so thankful that this business has lasted 15 years and counting, but I would be honest with you. If it wasn't for Kim Kelly, I probably would never get anything booked because I do not like to negotiate. I don't like to talk to people about booking me. She's very comfortable doing that. Right. I am not, because I got this mindset kind of like yours, hey, man, this got to be this way, this way, this way.
Sure.
And Kim has a way of navigating that I don't do. And I tell her all the time, I hate your job. I would hate to do what you do.
Right.
But the point is, just like you and Kathy, you got a team.
Right.
See, and that's what I had to figure out.
Strong team. You got to have a strong team.
You got to have a team.
When you were at Nebraska, you had a strong team.
Strong team.
Doing what you're doing now, you had to have a strong team.
Yep.
What we're doing now, we have a really, really strong team, and that's what. And the best leaders are the people that find people that do what you don't know how to do or don't like to do, and do it really well.
I was just getting ready to say that. See, I know my lane.
Right.
And I know what I can't do. So I went and got someone that could do what I can't do.
Sure.
And I let them do it. I don't try to tell them how to do something that I don't even want to do.
Right.
And see, and that to me is very important in business.
Or won't do.
I don't even want to.
Yeah, there's our CFO who does more paperwork than he's a unicorn. He is a unicorn. And the paperwork that he does to get into all of the grocery store chains that we're in right now and all the ones that are to come. Stephen Huth is our CFO. Jason Agnew is our CEO. We have an advisor, a sales advisor right now, Rod Anderson, who's just amazing. And we have these people that just are masters at what they do. And we literally would not be able to do it without them.
Well, I'll tell you what, the fact that you're, and this is another one of my deals, you're humble enough to realize that. I think humility is way overlooked and underappreciated in our society because I just think being humble has saved me from so many situations that probably wouldn't have turned out good for me.
Sure.
There's this old saying, you will win the battle, but you'll lose the war. Well, being humble has allowed me to surpass the battle.
Right.
And not even have to worry about the war.
Right.
Because
you never get into it.
It never happened.
Right.
But the point is, it took a long time to learn that. I mean, I knew it. I knew it
Sure.
better. But to actually practice it, I mean, because I'm just sitting there looking at like this Heavenly Waffles. Let's use that for example. Just to get it to where you've gotten it, starting out from the addiction piece all the way to where you are now, there's no way you can convince me that you ain't went through some adversity.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I understand that.
It is crazy.
But you know what? You did it, and you're still doing it.
Right.
And you're doing it with a positive mental attitude. I can't get past that because that is so important. I done seen people with great products, but the personality ain't there.
Right.
So
you have to be able to share your product with the general public and knowing that you're giving them something that they need. And the general public, this is, like I said, it's a better tasting, more versatile, and good for you product. Because we've replaced so much of the traditional flour with the dry yogurt, you don't have that hypoglycemic reaction like you were talking about that you need to take a nap.
Yeah.
You don't spike your blood sugars and your glucose, so you don't have that crash. We were meeting with a few years ago with IHOP and a guy that I was working with in Kansas City. Was down, we were working on this pitch, and he said, when was the last time you were in an IHOP? And I was like, well, I guess probably not since I was drinking, because the only time I went to IHOP when it was 2:00 in the morning, the bars closed. And so he goes, we should probably go. So we went, and I had like 3 or 4 bites of one of their waffles. And on the way back to Omaha, I called and I was talking to Kathy. She goes, you okay? And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, you've yawned 3 times in the last minute. Are you going to fall asleep at the wheel? And literally, so that hypoglycemic reaction, which so many people, some people say, well, it's got to be easy to sell these. Everybody loves pancakes and waffles. I'm like, surprisingly, a lot of people don't, and it's because of how the traditional pancake or waffle makes you feel.
Right.
So, but by being able to give a good for you product to the general public, you would think it's
very
like taking candy from a baby, but it is still work.
Yeah, but it's
because we have to educate them.
Right, but but you're doing it. And see, and to me, Bob, that's where I really, really, I just have to compliment you and Kathy both, man, because Dude, it's so easy to quit. It's so easy to say, you know what? I think I'll pass. We got to find a plan B. But you guys made it work.
Do you know what the people who fail quit.
Right.
Winners don't quit.
Right. Well, I got another Rickyism.
What is I love the Rickyism.
I got another Rickyism. You either win or you learn.
Right.
Ain't no losing.
That's very true.
Yeah, ain't no losing around here. I mean, my quit button broke. Okay, so I'm not giving up. So I'm going to either win or I'm going to learn.
Right.
And that's the mindset that I take just in life.
I love that.
And I think it applies to you.
I haven't heard that Rickyism yet.
Well, hey, I got a ton of them. Trust me.
Did you write that down, honey?
Trust me, I got a ton of them. So you will be hearing more and more of them.
I love it.
But is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I think, just keep your eye out for Heavenly Waffles in a grocery store chain near you. Hy-Vee's, the health market departments, and
let me ask you this.
And Costco's soon.
Okay. But let's just assume this is just for people that may not actually get out that much.
Sure.
Is there a way for them to get it online?
You can order it at heavenlywaffles.com, amazon.com, walmart.com.
See there?
There we go.
I'm telling you, his quit button broke too. This young man ain't going to quit.
Pursuit. You can also get him at Pursuit Fitness in Omaha. You can get him at Rexius Nutrition in Omaha, Shields in Omaha. You can eat them at Moran's Grill in Bellevue and Papillion Ralston, Leviston. Two Moran's Grills. The Lighthouse Cafe and Salted Edge on their Sunday brunch. Also, the Lighthouse Cafe sells our mix as well. So, honey, am I missing any others? Those are the ones in the Omaha area.
Okay.
So,
well, we're gonna be worldwide here soon.
We are going to be worldwide.
Yeah, so
that's the plan.
So, just remember the name Heavenly Waffles.
You bet.
And you heard it here first. Make sure you let them know that you heard it on Look Like Somebody.
There you go.
Well, Bob, I really just want to thank you. I know you've been doing a lot, and you're really busy, and I appreciate the fact that you made time.
Anytime I can come hang out with you, it's a good time.
Well, the feelings are mutual, and I appreciate you. So tell me this: when you first started off doing this, did it take off right away, or was it one of those deals where you just had to kind of?
No, it was a grind. It's still a grind, to be perfectly honest. Now that they're in the stores, that's the first part of it. Getting there is the first. Now they have to sell through.
Yeah.
So that's the whole social media thing that helps, but it's expensive. All of this is expensive, and that's why bringing on the CEO and the CFO, it's like. That's expensive as well, but we have to get it to sell through. And so that's why doing these kind of things, helping to promote the product is paramount. But it was, it's when we first started. So we had one of the pastors at our church, Cap Chatfield. If you've ever, Cap is Chatfield, look him up because he's an amazing speaker. He came to us when our bags were just this silver bag with a Heavenly Waffle sticker on it, because we were selling to food service, just restaurants.
Right.
And so he came to us and he said, we love your product, but you need to up your packaging game. And so that we didn't really even have a logo. We just had Heavenly Waffles we had trademarked Heavenly Waffles, so it had the R on it. And so he got the logo to where it is now. And then we did, of course, the gluten-free as well. And so we redesigned our bags. Then we've done another redesign. But when he came to us, and this was during the whole COVID thing, right before the whole COVID thing, so we started getting our packaging done so that when we did go online, it looked so much better. And so presentation is really important.
Right.
The presentation thing is, oh, my goodness.
Well, I just think it's important because I think people in general are visual.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And once the packaging gets your attention, then they might actually read to see what's in the package.
Sure. And all of that's important. On the back we have how to make them heavenly pancake style. Okay. So we've trademarked heavenly pancakes, heavenly drizzles, heavenly muffins. What else have we trademarked, honey? We have so many different things that we want to do. So I have a line of pre-made frozen. So I want to do like a chicken and waffle, that fennel sausage gravy that I make.
Right.
So I want to have like 4 pre-cooked Heavenly Waffles frozen, frozen chicken strips in there, and then that fennel sausage gravy like in a pack.
Right.
That's one thing I want to do. Then I want to do pre-made frozen like a bacon and green onion. So bacon and scallion, so savory.
Okay.
Pre-made frozen to do sandwich style. So we have Heavenly Waffle ice cream sandwiches. I've shown you those pictures.
Yes, I've seen
That's
those.
another thing. So there's so many different offshoot products that we want to do while we're doing this, so that we'll have more in the barrel, so to say, more bullets in the barrel. So when we're selling these and people are like, okay, well, what's next? Then we'll have the drizzles, or then we'll have the pre-made frozen, or then we'll have the frozen foods.
One thing I will say is, you guys have got a lineup. You've got a lineup second.
We do.
Which is smart.
Right.
Because unfortunately we live in this society where one thing might get, it might kind of
right. What next?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Everybody's looking for what's next.
Right.
And
we have the pumpkin.
Okay.
Have you ever had the pumpkin?
No, I missed them.
So we have a pumpkin harvest. I want to do a cornbread, because the cornbread one. Have you had the cornbread one? You have, I think, had the cornbread one.
I think I did.
Because the one with the chili and cheese.
Yeah, but see, I got a bone to pick with you though.
What's that?
And I done told Kathy to tell you, but I don't know if she told you. Man, you got to quit giving me empty plates.
I know. That's really funny, because there was a woman at an event we were just at a pop-up. So in one of the Costco's demos, we did, by the way, we did 15,000 samples at the last Costco roadshow we did. 15,000. Wow. But anyway, one of the women who came up, she came back for like seconds and thirds, and she said, "There's a hole in the bottom of my cup." And so I told her about you. I said, Ricky Simmons, a good friend of mine, every time he brings his plate back to me, he says the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at my plate.
Wait, the plate's empty.
Yeah, I'm looking at my plate. I'm like, man, why is Bob giving out these empty plates, man? I mean, I don't understand.
I don't. He's not feeding me enough.
I mean, so you're making me come back.
Oh,
man,
my goodness.
So.
And that's another thing, that when you eat Heavenly Waffles 2 to 3 times, after the third time, you're kind of hooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I wasn't that big of a waffle eater, because, like I said, they put me to sleep.
Right.
So, I mean, I tried these and had energy.
You are my favorite customer, by the way. The people who don't, because I figure if the people who don't like waffles like Heavenly Waffles, then everyone else is just going to fall into place.
That's what I'm saying. We just got to get them. We got to, if they put it in their mouth, you got them.
Right.
Yeah, and
there are always those haters once in a while.
I already know. Don't even get me started on them haters. Matter of fact, I love haters.
Yes.
I need everybody to understand that haters are so important to me, and that's a personal thing. I know a lot of people don't have haters,
right?
But man, I'm almost pissed if I don't have haters,
right?
Because to me, if ain't nobody hating on you, you're not doing anything,
right?
And so it inspires me to continue doing what I need to do.
100%.
So when they start hating on you, man, you should smile.
Well, they kind of fuel the fire.
That's what I'm saying.
Uh-huh. They do kind of fuel the fire.
See, one thing I can say about you is your quit button broke too.
Yes, it is totally broke.
Yeah, so
I'm not stopping.
So they can do what they want, and it's not going to stop.
No.
I really, really just want you to know, man, how proud I am of you personally.
I so appreciate it.
Yeah,
and you, I am of you as well. I mean,
thank you, young man.
I think of because you got to the point where the 3 things that got me to quit drinking and doing drugs was the going to jail. And again, I didn't care about that. That would have been fine, because again, that probably would have helped me, just because I couldn't get out of my own way.
Right.
You understand that?
Oh man. I got a patent on that.
But living and having to go through that situation.
Well, I can tell you one thing, and I try to say this as often as I can, because I want people to understand. going to prison is not where I would advise anyone to go. Right. But one thing I will
not
say,
a career path.
Yeah, it's not where you want to be. I mean, there's nothing about it that you're going to come out saying I enjoyed it.
Right.
But the one thing I will say is it taught me this slogan, another Rickyism. It taught me this slogan, you're going to mind somebody. And once I realized that, hey, man, I got to make some changes.
Sure, because you're not the boss.
Yeah, and these people, they refuse to not take me. Every time I come before them, they made space for me. Even if they had to put me on the floor, they made space. They never once said, "Hey, Ricky, I'm tired of arresting you.
Right,
we're not locking you up this time. Just go home." Right. That never happened. So what I'm saying to you is, it took what it took. You know, like for you, it took what it took. For me, it took a little bit more because I'm a genius. You know, I'm smarter than everybody else.
Right.
And I'm going to figure out how to do this without having the consequences.
Sure.
But it doesn't work that way.
No.
So once, you know, and the funniest thing happened, man, is when I finally stopped making those choices, the criminal justice system left me alone.
Imagine that.
The police quit following me. They quit stopping me. Man, I was like waiting on them to mess with me, and they just ignore me like I don't exist. And I remember when it was so different. But it was all about a mindset.
Well, isn't it nice to be driving and have a police car behind you and not be worried?
Man, when the police get behind me now, I turn my music up.
Go ahead, pull me over.
Yeah, because all you're going to smell in here is vanilla. Vanilla air freshener. That's all you're going to smell.
That's funny.
And I laugh about it because there was a time when things were different, you know. So what I'm trying to say in a nice way is anybody out there that's going through adversity, hey, you just got to make some choices.
Right.
And once you make them choices, you got a great example sitting right next to me right now of a person that went as low as you can go and bounced back and now is on a path that we don't know how big this is going to be.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but the point is he found his passion, he turned it into a plan, and now he's executing the plan.
Right.
And to me, Bob, man, that's what life is all about. Life is really simple. It's people like me and you, we complicate things with our choices.
We couldn't get, like I said earlier, we couldn't get out of our own way.
No, getting out of the way was not part of the deal. We're going to go through it.
Right.
Well, listen, Bob, again, man, thank you again for coming out.
You are more, and like I said, any time that I get to hang out with you is
man,
good.
I really appreciate you for coming in. And, man, I want everybody, man, y'all just go to heavenlywaffles.com and just check out the website just to see what all they offer.
100%. Check out some of the recipes, see where we're being sold. Check out our Instagram page. Check out my Chef Bob Haney Instagram page, Facebook page. Go follow us. We'll always have updates of new grocery store chains and new locations that are either serving them or selling them. So that updates all the time. We'll always be updating our recipes and different things that we make with them. And try Heavenly Waffles. Nothing like them.
And do it R-A-T now.
There you
Rat now.
Hurrah. Right now.
I want y'all to understand something. I just love to have fun and I love to laugh and joke. But I want you to understand this too. Every day that you blessed to see, it truly is another day in paradise. And you should get up and look like somebody and do that for yourself.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Love you, man.
Love you too.